Hi YouTube, it's me, Carrie OK, and I'm coming to you today with a little recipe. It's a low-carb taco salad recipe. So for those of you out there, that are maybe watching your weight or watching your carbs, this is a really, really great recipe. So let's get started. I have a preheated kind of deep skillet here, and I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. This is good olive oil. It's Portuguese. So I'm going to add a little olive oil to the pan, and as you can see, the pan is nice and hot. So I'm just drizzling in my olive oil, and now I'm going to add my onions. So this is just pre-chopped onions and pre-chopped bell peppers. Now normally I would chop these myself, but since I'm kind of in a rush to get dinner on the table, I got a little store-bought help, and I'm using the pre-chopped stuff from the store. So I'm going to stir these around. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my peppers and onions browning up. So you just want to keep stirring them. Let them get nice and golden brown. Let them kind of wilt down a little bit, stirring them so that they don't, scorch on the bottom or stick to the pan. And I have this over, I would say, medium to medium high heat. Maybe medium high, and just keep stirring them. So this is just onions, red, yellow, and green bell pepper. So that's all this is. And I'm just sauteing it in a few tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. So I'll come right back with the next step. Okay, so this has been browning up for a couple of minutes. It's getting some nice color on it. What I'm going to do now, so this is store-bought, just pre-chopped pico de gallo mix from my local supermarket. And I'm going to use a lot of this for on top of the taco salad, but it does have some good stuff. It has some onions and some jalapenos and some tomato and some cilantro in it. So I'm going to add some of it right to my veggie mix right here, just to get a little bit of the heat from the jalapeno, and just to add a little extra flavor to it. So I'm going to add maybe about half of the container right here to my veggie mix, and then I'll save the rest of it for garnish for the top of the taco salad, okay? So I'll be right back. Okay, so as you can see, my veggies are browning up and they're doing really, really good. Getting nice and brown, getting some nice caramelization on the bottom of the pan. So what I'm fixing to do next is I'm going to add some meat. And the meat I'm using is extra lean ground turkey breast. It's 99% fat-free. I highly recommend it, although when you're doing a low-carb diet, I just want to take a moment to explain this. When you're doing a low-carb diet, you really don't need to watch fat or calories. You're really only watching carbs. So, if you prefer to use the full-fat ground turkey, or if you prefer ground beef, classically, taco salad's usually made with ground beef. So if you prefer ground beef or ground pork or some other type of ground meat, ground chicken, you can feel free, to use that if that's what you prefer. But this is just what I'm using, because I prefer, a lower fat. I like to eat larger portions, so I try to reduce the calories, in as many ways possible. But like I said, with low carb, you don't necessarily have to do that. So if you want to use, ground beef or a fattier meat, by all means, go right ahead. This is just what I like to do. Okay, so I'm going to add this ground turkey to the pan and start browning it, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I have my ground turkey breast, in the pan, and it's browning up. And this was about 1.25 pounds of ground turkey breast. Like I said before, when you're doing low carb diets, you don't necessarily have to be mindful of your fat intake. So if you prefer a fattier meat, if you want to use ground beef or ground pork or something different, by all means go ahead and use that. This is just what I prefer to use. So this is going to be browning up now, and in a couple minutes we're going to go ahead and add our seasonings, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so our turkey meat is browning up, and now I'm going to go ahead and add some seasonings. So let's see what we have here. I'm going to get my seasonings out. Hang on one second, I'll be right back. Okay guys, sorry about that. So I'm going to start seasoning. The first seasoning I'm using is my favorite Lowry's seasoned salt. So you want to add a good amount of that, because that's what's going to add, your salty flavor. So we got some of that in there. And you can always readjust, to your own particular tastes. The next thing I'm going to add is some garlic powder. So I'm just going to add some garlic powder. Just sprinkle that in as much or as